Action.
Boom.
Hi, welcome to Fun and Friends. I'm Avalon.
I'm Sabrina.
And I'm Jasmine.
And welcome to our channel where we do random stuff. Mostly reading right now, but we need to add some more stuff.
We're going to add more stuff. We want specifically questions for a Q&A video, so ask us questions. Please do down below. We love it. So yes.
Yeah. Alright, so a recap on The School of Good and Evil, Chapter 3. Agatha and Sophie have gotten their school schedules, and they found out they are supposedly in the right schools that they're supposed to be in. Mm-hmm. And Agatha let out a big fart.
There we go.
I feel like the gist.
I feel like that was the big highlight of the chapter. Oh, and they tried to run towards each other.
They did. Yeah, because they saw each other.
Well, I feel like Sophie was just running towards the School of Good, not Agatha, and Agatha was actually concerned about her friend running to her friend.
Yeah. And then there's like an invisible force that like pushed them back.
Yep.
And the teachers came groveling with them.
Yep. And the wolf.
And the wolf spoke.
He does. He said, "There are no mistakes."
Always making wolves evil and things. They are not.
Well, we don't know that. All right.
Here we go.
4. The Three Witches of Room 66. Sophie wasn't sure why 6 wolves needed to punish her instead of 1, but she assumed it was to make a point. They bound her to a spit, stuffed an apple in her mouth, and paraded her like a banquet pig through the 6 floors of Malice Hall.
Oh my god.
That's embarrassing.
Just a bit.
Just a tad.
Lining the walls, new students pointed and laughed, but laughs turned to frowns when they realized this freak in pink was one of their bunkmates. The wolves towed whimpering Sophie past room 63, 64, 65, then kicked open room 66 and flung her in. Sophie skidded until her face smacked into a warded foot. I told you we'd get her, said a sour voice. Still trying to spit, Sophie looked up at a tall girl with greasy black hair streaked red, black lipstick, a ring in her nose, and a terrifying tattoo of a buck-horned, red-skulled demon flying around her neck. The girl glared at Sophie, black eyes flinting. She even smells like an ever. The fairies will retrieve her soon enough, said a voice across the room. Sophie flung her head to an albino girl with deathly white hair, white skin, and hooded red eyes, feeding stew from a cauldron to 3 black rats. Pity we can't slit its throat and hang it in a hall as a hall ornament. How rude, said a third. Sophie turned to a slimy brown-haired girl on a bed, round as a hot air balloon, chocolate ice pop in each stumpy fist. Besides, it's against the rules to kill other students. But can't we just maim her a bit? Said the albino. I think she's refreshing, said a plump one, biting into an ice pop. Not every villain has to smell or look depressed. She's not a villain, the albino and the tattooed girl snapped in unison. As they wiggled from their ropes, Sophie craned her neck up and had her first full view of the room. Once upon a time, it might have been a nice, cozy suite for someone set on fire. The brick walls were burnt to cinders. Black and brown scorch marks ripped across the ceiling, and the floor was buried beneath an inch of ash. Even the furniture looked toasted, but as her eyes searched, Sophie realized there was an even bigger problem. Where's the mirror? She gasped. Let me guess, the tattoos girl snorted. It's Belle, or Ariel, or Anastasia. It looks more like a buttercup or a sugar plum, said the albino. Or a Clarabelle, or a rose red, or a willow by the sea. Sophie! Sophie stood in a cloud of soot. My name is Sophie. I'm not a villain. I'm not an it. And yes, I clearly don't belong here, so... The albino and the tattooed girl doubled over laughing. Sophie! The second cackled. That's worse than anyone I could have ever imagined. Anything named Sophie doesn't belong here, the albino wheezed. It belongs in a cage. I belong in a tower, said Sophie, trying to stay above their cattiness. Which is why I need the schoolmaster. I need to see the schoolmaster, the albino mimicked. How about you jump out a window and see if it catches you? You have no manners, snarfed the round girl, mouthful. I'm Dot. This is Hester, she said, pointing at the tattooed girl. And this ray of sunshine, she said, pointing to the albino, is Annadale. Annadale spat on the floor. Welcome to room 66, said Dot, and with a swish of her hand, swept the ashes off the unclaimed bed. Sophie winced at the moth-eaten sheets with an ominous stain. Appreciate the welcome, but I really should be going, she said, backing against the door. Might you direct me to the schoolmaster's office? Princesses must be so confused when they see you, said Dot. Most villains don't look like princesses. She's not a villain, Annadale said, and Hester groaned. Do I have to make an appointment to see him? Pressed Sophie. Or do I send him a note, or... You could fly, I suppose, Dot said, pulling 2 chocolate eggs from her teeth. But the stiffs might eat you. Stimps? Said Sophie. Those birds that dropped us off, love, garbled Dot as she chewed. You'll have to get past them, and you know they hate villains. For the last time, shot Sophie. I'm not a villain. Sounds rang in the stairwell, sugary, jingling, and dainty. So delicate it could be. Fairies, they were coming for her. Sophie suppressed a scream. She dared not tell the girls her rescue was imminent. Who knows how serious they were about making her a hall decoration. She backed against the door and listened to the jingles grow louder. I didn't know why people think princesses are so pretty, Hester said, picking a wart off her toe. Their noses are so small, like little buttons you just want to pop off. Fairies on our floor. Sophie wanted to hop down, up and down as soon as she got to the good castle. She would take the longest bath of her life. And
who doesn't like a good bath, though?
Right?
Honestly.
Like, I feel like a villain would still like a bath.
I would.
Well, I guess it depends on the villain.
I think it depends on the villain.
Yeah, because I don't think goblins would want to take a bath.
No.
I was just thinking of the orcs from Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
I was like, ugh.
They need a bath.
You guys need a bath.
They
Really
need
bad.
The evil queen definitely takes baths. And I mean, Ursula's pretty vain with her, makeup and stuff, so I think she'd be willing to.
Maleficent as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a fairy. Do fairies even bathe?
But she's technically not even a villain if you've actually
Nope.
seen the movie.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Just saying.
Choo-choo. Like Sophie. She's like Sophie.
There you go.
She's an anti-villain.
Yeah.
And their hair is always so long, Annadale said. Dangling a dead mouse for a rat's dessert makes me want to pull it all out. Just a few rooms away now. And those phony smiles, Hester said. And that obsession with pink, said Annadale. Fairies next door. I can't wait to kill my first one, said Hester. Today's as good a day as any, Annadale said. They are here, Sophie swelled with joy. New school, new friends, new life. But the fairies flew past her room. Sophie's heart imploded. What happened? How could they miss her? She lunged past Annadale for the door, threw it open in a flash of wolf fur. Sophie jolted back in shock, and Hester slammed the door. You'll get us all punished, Hester growled. But they were here. They were looking for me, Sophie cried. Are you sure we can't kill her? Asked Annadale, watching the rats devour the mouse. So where in the woods do you come from, love? Dot asked Sophie, inhaling a chocolate frog. I don't come from the woods, Sophie said impatiently and peeped through an eye hole. The wolves had no doubt scared the fairies away. She needed to get back to the bridge and find them, but right now there were 3 wolves guarding the hall, eating a meal of roasted turnips from a cast iron plate. Wolves eat turnips with forks? But there was something else odd about the wolves' plates. fairies scavenging food from the beasts. Sophie's eyes widened in shock. A cute boy glanced up at her. He sees me. Clasping her hands, Sophie mouthed, "Help!" through the glass. The fairy boy smiled with understanding and whispered in the wolf's ear. The wolf looked up at Sophie and shattered her eye hole with a savage kick. Sophie stumbled back, hearing a chorus of airy giggles and growling laughs. The fairies had no intention of rescuing her. Sophie's whole body shook, about to explode into sobs. Then she heard a throat clear and turned. The three girls with identically confused expression. "What do you mean you don't come from the woods?" said Hester. Sophie was in no state to answer dumb questions, but now these goons were her only hope to find the schoolmaster. "I come from Galveston," she said, stifling tears. "You three seem to know a lot about this place, so I'd be thankful if you can tell me where." "Is it near the Murmuring Mountains?" asked Dot. "Only Nevers live in the Murmuring Mountains, you fool," Hester growled. "Near Rainbow Gale, I bet," said Annandale. "They're where the most annoying Evers come from." "Sorry, I'm lost already," Sophie frowned. "Evers? Nevers?" "A sheltered Rapunzel locked up in a tower type," Annandale said. "Explains everything." Evers are what we call do-gooders, love," Dot said to Sophie. "You know all that nonsense about finding happily ever after." "So that makes you Nevers?" said Sophie, remembering the lettered columns in the stared room. "Short for Nevermore," Hester revealed. "Paradise and evildoers. We'll have infinite powers in Nevermore." "Control space and time," said Annandale. "We'll take our new form," said Hester. "Splinter our souls. Conquer death. Only the wicked and villains get in," said Annandale. "And the best part," said Hester, "no other people. Each villain gets their own private kingdom." "Eternal solitude," said Annandale. "Sounds like misery," said Sophie. "Other people are misery," said Hester. "Agatha would love it there," Sophie murmured. "Galveston, is it by Fiffleplaff Hills?" Dot said airily. "Oh, for goodness sakes, it's not near anything," Sophie moaned. She held up her schedule. Sophie of the Woods Beyond is at the top. Galveston is beyond the woods, surrounded by all sides. "Woods Beyond?" said Hester. "Who's your king?" said Dot. "We don't have a king," Sophie said. "Who's your mother?" asked Annandale. "She's dead," Sophie said. "And your father?" asked Dot. "He's a mill worker. These questions are quite personal." "And what fairy tale family is he from?" Annandale asked. "And now they're just plain odd. No one's family is a fairy tale. He's from a normal family with normal faults, like every one of your fathers." "I knew it," Hester said to Annandale. "Knew what?" said Sophie. "Readers are the only ones this stupid," Annandale said to Hester. Sophie's skin burned. "I'm sorry. I'm not the stupid one if I'm the only one here who can read. So why don't you look in the mirror? That is, if you can actually find one." Reader. Why didn't anyone here seem homesick? Why did they all swim towards the wolves in the moat instead of fleeing for their lives? Why didn't they cry for their mothers or try to escape the snakes at the gate? Why did they know so much about this school? What fairy tale family is he from? Sophie's eyes found Hester's nightstand. Next to a vase of dead flowers, a claw-shaped candle, and a... Are you kissing my book? Oh, thank you. Do you like it too?
He feels sympathetic towards Sophie.
Yes.
He's like, "Oh, you poor soul. Let me give you licks."
He'd be in the school of good. He's a good boy.
You'd be a good mascot.
Chewy the Golden.
Chewy the golden boy. In the school of good. Sophie found Hester's nightstand next to a vase of dead flowers, a claw-shaped candle, and a stack of books. Outsmarting orphans, Why Villains Fail, Frequent Witch Mistakes, was a gnarled wooden picture frame. Inside was a child's clumsy painting of a grotesque witch in front of a house. a house made of gingerbread and candy. Mother was naive, said Hester, picking up the frame. Her face struggled with the memory. An oven, please. Stick them on a grill. Avoids complications. Her jaw hardened. I'll do better. Sophie's eyes shifted to Annabelle and her stomach plummeted. Her favorite storybook ended with a witch rolled in a barrel of nails until all that remained was a bracelet made of little boys' bones. Now that bracelet was clasped on her roommate's wrist. Does know her witches, doesn't she? Annabelle leered. Granny would be flattered. Sophie whirled to the poster above Dot's bed. A handsome man in green screaming as an executioner's ass. An executioner's ass sliced into his head.
Well, at least we know someone's farts in the books are lethal. Not Agatha's, apparently.
Yep. Wanted, Robin Hood, dead or alive, preferably dead, by order of Sheriff of Nottingham. Daddy promised to let me have the first swing, Dot said. Sophie looked at their three bunkmates in horror. They didn't need to read the fairy tales. They came from them. They were born to kill. A princess and a reader, Hester said. The two worst things a human can be. Even the Evers don't want her, said Annabelle, or the fairies would have come by now. But they have come, Sophie cried. I'm good. Well, you're stuck here, dearie, Hester said, plumping Sophie's pillow with a kick. So if you want to stay alive, best try to fit in. Fit in with witches? Fit in with cannibals? No, listen to me, Sophie begged. I'm good. You keep saying that. In a flash, Hester seized her by the throat and pinned her over the open window. And yet there's no proof. I donate corsets to homeless hags. I go to church every Sunday. Sophie howled above the fatal drop. No sign of a fairy godmother, Hester said. Try again. I smile at children. I sing to birds. Sophie choked. I can't breathe. No sign of a Prince Charming either, said Annabelle, grabbing her legs. Last chance. I make friends with a witch, and that's how good I am. And still no fairies, Annabelle said to Hester as they lifted her up. She belongs here, not me, Sophie wailed. No one knows why the schoolmaster brings you worthless freaks into our world, hissed Hester, but there can only be one reason. He's a fool. Ask Agatha, she'll tell you. She's the villain. You know, Annabelle, no one's told us the rules yet, Hester said, so they can't punish us for breaking them, Annabelle grinned. They lifted Sophie up over the edge. 1, said Hester. No, Sophie shrieked. 2. You want proof? I'll give you proof, Sophie screamed. 3. Look at me and look at you. Hester and Annabelle dropped her. Stunned, they stared at each other, then at Sophie, hunched on the bed, gulping tearful breaths. Told you she was a villain, Dot chirped and bit into her fudge. A commotion clamored inside the room, and the girls had swiveled to the door. It flew open with a crack, and 3 wolves thundered in, grabbed them by their collars, and hurled them into a stampede of black-robed students. Students rammed and elbowed each other. Some fell beneath the herd and couldn't get back up. Sophie clung to the wall for her life. Where are we going? She yelled to Dot. The school for good, Dot said. For the welcome, the ogreish boy kicked her forward. The school for good? Flooding with hope, Sophie followed the hideous horde down the stairs, primping her pink dress for her first meeting with her true classmates. Someone seized her arm and threw her up against the banister. Dazed, she looked up at the vicious white wolf who held up a black uniform reeking of death. He bared his teeth in a shiny grin. No, Sophie gasped. So the wolf took care of matters himself. Now we go over to our other friend. Though the princesses of purity were all bunked in threes, Agatha ended up in her own room.
Lucky her.
I know. I wonder why.
Wonder.
I wonder. A pink glass staircase connected all 5 floors of Purity Tower, spiraling to a carved replica of Rapunzel's endless hair. The door to Agatha's 5th floor room had a glittery sign covered in hearts. Welcome, Rihanna, Millicent, Agatha. But Rihanna and Millicent didn't stay long. Rihanna, blessed with luscious Arabian skin and brilliant gray eyes, labored to move her enormous trunk into the room, only to find Agatha and move it right back out. She just looks evil, Agatha heard her sob. I don't want to die. Move in with me, she heard Beatrix say. The fairies will understand. And indeed, the fairies did understand. And they understood when red-haired Millicent, with the upturned nose and thin eyebrows, feigned a fear of heights and demanded a room on a lower floor. And so Agatha was alone, which made her feel right at home. The room, however, made her feel anxious. Massive jeweled mirrors glared back at her from pink walls. Elaborate murals flaunted beautiful princesses kissing dashing princes, and arched over the bed was a white silk canopy, shaped like a royal carriage, and glorious fresco of clouds blanketed the ceiling tiles, with smiling cupids shooting love arrows from puffy perches.
Oh God, too much.
Right?
Make it stop.
It's like,
I'll
no.
take the dust bunnies and burnt sheets at that point.
Right?
Just extra.
A little bit.
Agatha moved as far as she could from all of it and crouched in the window nook, black dress bunched against the pink wall. Through the window, she could see the sparkling lake around the good towers turn into a sludgy moat midway across to protect the evil ones. Halfway bridge, the girls had called it. Deep in the fog, the thin stone bridge reached across the waters to connect the 2 schools. But this was all in front of the 2 castles. What was beyond them? Curious, Agatha climbed onto the window ledge, clinging to the glass beam. She glanced down at the Charity Tower below, reaching up with its sharp pink spire. One wrong move, and she'd end up skewered like lamb meat. Agatha tiptoed to the side of the ledge, craned her head around the corner, and almost fell from surprise. Beyond the School for Good and Evil was a massive blue forest. Trees, bushes, flowers bloomed in every shade of blue, from iceberg to indigo. The lush blue grove unfolded for quite a distance, connecting the yards of both schools, before it was fenced on all sides by tall gold gates. Beyond the gates, the forest returned to green and stretched into dark oblivion. As Agatha slid back, she saw something in front of the school rising from Halfway Bay. It was right at the midpoint where the waters balanced between Sledge and Sparkle. She could see it through the fog, a thin tower of glinting silver brick. Fairies buzzed around the spires in droves, while wolves with crossbows stood watch on wooden planks that jutted from the base of the tower into the water. What were they guarding? Agatha squinted at the top of the sky tower, but all she could see was the single window shrouded by clouds. The light caught the window as she saw it, silhouetted in the sun. The crooked shadow that had kidnapped him. Her shoe slipped and her body pitched forward over the deadly Charity. Flailing, she grabbed the window beam just in time and crashed back into the room. Agatha clutched her bruised tailbone, whipped around, but the shadow was gone. Agatha's heart thumped faster. Whoever brought them here was in that tower. Whoever was in that tower could fix the mistake and send them home. But first, she needed to rescue her best friend. A few minutes later, Agatha shrank from a mirror. The sleeveless pink uniform showed off parts of her white, scrawny body that had never seen the sunlight. The lace color gave away the rash that had spread across her neck whenever she felt anxious. The carnations lining her sleeves made her sneeze, and the matching pink high heels teetered like stilts. But the foul outfit was her only chance to escape. Her room was on the opposite end from the stairwell. To get back to the bridge, she needed to glide down the hall without being noticed and slip down the stairs. Agatha set her jaw. You have to blend. She took a deep breath and cracked open the door. 50 beautiful girls in pink pinafores packed the hallway, giggling, gossiping, trading dresses, shoes, bags, bangles, creams, and everything else they had brought in their gigantic trunks. The fairies buzzed between, trying in vain to round them up for welcoming. Through the hubbub, Agatha glimpsed stairs at the other end. A confident stroll, and she'd be gone before they saw her, but she couldn't move. It had taken her whole life to make a friend, and here these girls had become best friends in minutes as if making friends was the simplest thing in the world. Agatha prickled with shame. In the school for good, where everyone was supposed to be kind and loving, she had still ended up alone and despised. She was a villain no matter where she went. She slammed the door, ripped petals from her sleeve, tore off her pink heels, and hurtled them out the window. She slumped against the wall and closed her eyes. Get me out of here. She opened her eyes and glimpsed her ugly face in the jeweled mirror. Before she could run away, her eyes caught something else in the reflection, a ceiling tile with a smiling cupid slightly dislodged. Agatha slipped her feet back into her hard black clumps. She climbed up to the bed canopy and pulled the tile away, revealing a dark vent above the room. She gripped the edges of the hole and swung one leg into the vent and the other until she found herself perched on a narrow platform inside the chute. She crawled through the darkness, hands and knees blindly shuffling along the cold metal, until suddenly turned to air. This time she couldn't save herself. Falling too fast to scream, Agatha whizzed through chutes, ping-ponged through pipes, and slid down vents until she somersaulted through a gate and landed in a beanstalk. She hugged the thick green trunk, thankful she was still in one piece. She looked around. Agatha saw she wasn't in a garden or a forest or anywhere else a beanstalk was supposed to be. She was in a dark room with high ceilings, filled with paintings, sculptures, and glass cases. Her eyes found frosted doors in the corner, gilded words etched in the glass. The Gallery of Good. Agatha inched down the beanstalk until her clumps touched the marble floor. A mural blanketed the long wall with a panoramic view of a soaring gold castle and dashing prince and beautiful princess. Wedded beneath a gleaming arch, as thousands of spectators jingled bells and danced in celebration. Blessed by a brilliant sun, the virtuous couple kissed, while baby angels hovered above, showering them with red and white roses. High above the scene, shiny black letters peeked out from beyond the clouds, stretching from the end of the mural to the other. Ever after. Agatha grimaced. She always mocked Sophie for believing in happily ever after. Who wants to be happy all the time? But looking at the mural, she had to admit the school did a spooky good job of selling the idea. She peered into the glass case, holding a thin booklet of flowery handwriting with a plaque next to it. Snow White, Animal Fluency Exam, Lantina of Maidenville. In the next case, she found a blue cape of a boy who became Cinderella's prince, Red Riding Hood's dorm room pillow, the Little Match Girl's diary, Pinocchio's pajamas, and other remnants of star students who presumably went to weddings and castles. On the wall, she scanned more drawings of Ever After by formal students, a school history exhibit, banners celebrating iconic victories, and a wall labeled Class Captain, stacked with portraits of students from each class. The museum got darker as she went on, so Agatha used one of the matches to light a lamp. That's when she saw the dead animals. Dozens of taxidermy creatures loomed over her, stuffed and mounted on rosy pink walls. She dusted off the plaques to find the booted Mr. Cat, Cinderella's favorite rat, Jack's sold-off cow, stumped with the names of children who weren't good enough to become heroes or sidekicks or servants. No happily ever after for this lot. Just hooks in a museum. Agatha felt the eerie, glass-eyed stares and turned away. Only then did she see the plaque gleaming on the beanstalk, Holden of Rainbow Gale. The wretched plant had once been a boy. Agatha's blood ran cold. All these stories she had never believed in, though they were painfully real now. In 200 years, no kidnapped kid would ever make it back to Galveston. What made her think she and Sophie would be the first? What made her think that she wouldn't end up a raven or a rosebush? Then she remembered what made them different from all the rest. We have each other. They had to work together to break the curse, or they'd end up fossils in a fairy tale. Agatha found her attention drawn to the corner nook with a row of paintings by the same artist depicting the same scenes, children reading storybooks in hazy, impressionistic colors. As she neared the paintings, her eyes grew wider because she recognized these were all where all these children were. They were in Galveston. She moved from the first painting to the last, with reading children set against the familiar hills, the lake, crooked clock tower and rickety church, even in the shadow of a house on Graves Hill. Agatha felt stabs of homesickness. She had mocked the children as battery and delusional, but in the end, they had known what she didn't. The line between the stories and real life is very thin indeed. Then she came to the last painting, which wasn't like the others at all. In this one, raging children heaved their storybooks into a fire in the square and watched them burn. All around, a dark forest went up in flames, filling the sky with violent red and black smoke. Staring at it, Agatha felt a chill up her spine. Voices. She dove behind a giant pumpkin carriage, hitting her head on a plaque, Hendrick of Netherwood. Agatha gagged. Two teachers entered the museum, an older woman in a chartreuse high-necked dress, speckled with iridescent green beetle wings, and a younger woman with a pointy-shouldered purple gown that slunk behind her. The woman in the chartreuse had a grandmothery beehive of white hair, with but luminous skin and calm brown eyes. The woman in purple had black hair yanked into a long braid, amethyst eyes, and bloodless skin stretched over her bones like a drum. She's tampering with the tales, Clarissa. And the one in the purple said, "The schoolmaster can't control the stories, Lady Lesso," Clarissa returned. "He's on your side, you know that," Lady Lesso soothed. "He's not on anyone's side," Clarissa stopped short. So did Lady Lesso. Agatha saw what they were looking at, the last painting. I see you welcomed another of Professor Sadler's delusions," Lady Lesso said. "It is his gallery," Clarissa sighed. Lady Lesso's eyes flashed. Magically, the paintings tore off the wall and landed behind a glass case inches from Agatha's head. "This is why they're not in your school's gallery," said Clarissa. "Anyone who believes the reader's prophecy is a fool," hissed Lady Lesso, including the schoolmaster. "A schoolmaster must protect the balance," Clarissa said gently. "He sees readers as part of that balance, even if you and I cannot understand." "Balance," scoffed Lady Lesso. "Then why hasn't evil won a tale since he took over? Why hasn't evil defeated good in 200 years? Perhaps my students are better educated," said Clarissa. Lady Lesso glowered and walked away, swishing her finger. Clarissa moved the painting back into place and scurried to keep up. "Maybe your new reader will prove this wrong," she said. Lady Lesso snorted. I hear she wears pink." Agatha listened to the footsteps so quiet. She looked up at the dented painting, the children, the bonfire, Galvadon burning to the ground. What did it all mean? Twinkly flutters echoed through the air. Before she could move, glowing fairies burst in, searching every crevice like flashlights. Far across the museum, Agatha saw the doors through each of the two teachers had left. Just when the fairies reached the pumpkin, she sprinted for it. The fairies squealed in surprise and slid between the three stuffed bears, threw open the doors. Pink-dressed classmates streamed through the foyer in two perfect lines. As they held hands and giggled as best friends, Agatha felt a familiar shame rise. Everything in her body told her to shut the door again and hide, but this time, instead of thinking of all the friends she didn't have, Agatha thought of the ones she did have. The fairies swooped in a second later, but all they found were princesses in the way to the welcoming. As they hovered furiously above, hunting for signs of guilt, Agatha slipped into the pink parade, put on a smile, and tried to blend.
Look at her trying to fit in for the sake of getting out.
Right? Camouflage.
I'm going to try and be cordial.
Try. Keyword try.
Attempt.
Well, this whole reading, the whole readers thing is a very interesting take on fairy tales.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious to see how this story unfolds on that aspect.
Yeah, so. I agree. I think that's really interesting.
Any predictions on where that third witch is from? So we have Hester, whose mom was
Hansel and Gretel.
Mm-hmm. We have the Barrel Witch, who had the bones around her wrist.
I didn't get the Barrel Witch one.
I didn't either.
So Hester was the one that was the Hansel and Gretel. The second one was from the book. It wasn't actually a real fairy tale, not that to my knowledge, but it like
a fairy tale in the book.
In the book, where the witch ended up in a barrel and it was with nails in it, and it was rolled down the hill to kill her until all that was left was her bones. And so the daughter was wearing her mom's bones around her wrist.
Mom or grandmother's?
Mom's. Yeah. And so then there's the third witch that's always eating sweets.
So is she? Well, so the sweets one, I would think it would be the Hansel and Gretel one, because that's the one where she has the house in the woods with all the candy.
I'm pretty sure that was Hester.
I thought it was Hester.
It's Hester. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Dot's the one that's eating all of the sweets.
I wonder.
I'm trying to think if there was like a gluttonous.
Like Candyland?
Candyland's not a.
I know it's not a fairy tale, but like. It's the only thing I can think of.
What about?
What do you guys think? What fairy tale do you think that witch is from?
Don't tell us till after, so we can tell them next time.
I'm not going to tell you. I've read the book, so I'm not going to give it away. But
is it an actual fairy tale then?
From what I remember, yes.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know. I don't trust your memory sometimes.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Well, let us know what you guys think down below, where that third witch is from, what fairy tale, and when we're done with the book, or I guess later on in the book.
Or next chapter.
Well,
part of the fun of this book is trying to figure out where all of their parents are from.
I like it.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like the TV show Once Upon a Time, where you're trying to figure out which fairy tale is which.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like it.
It's a lot like that.
I like it a lot.
Gotcha.
Well, yeah, I don't have anything else to say. I'm excited. I'm interested to see how this turns out.
Any predictions for what Agatha and Sophie are going to do next?
I think that they're going to find like an underground tunnel or something where they can connect, like meet up.
They have to connect somehow.
Yeah, they're going to.
I think the fact that, Agatha has kind of already braved that first step of wearing pink.
Yeah.
I think that meeting will help Sophie be like, okay, I need to blend in too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be here, but, clearly we're not allowed to switch. Not like we can secretly just
go
meet each other real quick.
Yeah.
But
that's my thought.
Maybe the burning of the books is foreshadowment for maybe they realize they have to escape and go back home and do that. Because it seems like they're the only ones who come from an area that's not aware of what's going on.
That does, I will tell you that will not come up again in this book.
Really?
Okay. There are many books in the series that really won't come up again in this book.
Okay, in this book. Okay.
But there are many others.
Gotcha.
Cool.
So Agatha and Sophie's storyline actually continues past this book into those books?
Nice.
Okay, yeah,
I definitely think that they meet up somehow. I think like through an underground tunnel or like some vortex or something like that.
I just really hope that Sophie, I hope Sophie does realize eventually that, like, she is a villain. Like, she is very vain. Like, she has very bad
Any predictions on what kind of fairy tale villain she's going to be?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But I know she could do potions with all of her,
face masks and stuff like that.
Stuff.
Yeah, definitely potions for sure. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. And I guess until next time, we'll see you then. Bye. Bye.